Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the two-man game here on Claibs Online. I'm Bob Ramsey. That is our NBA expert, Matt Rocc. And we've got to have an NBA expert because it's all quiet on the West Pine front. Nothing happening on the Billiken front. So this is the Matt Rocc show today. Rocc, we'll go back a couple of days because last night's games were both blowouts. And I think even hardcore fans will tell you not that interesting. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's completely fair, especially after kind of the intrigue that was created on Sunday from these games with Philadelphia, capping off a two-game run with Embiid back and then, taking a 2-0 series, making it 2-2, completely changing the complexion of that series. And the exact same way with Dallas. We thought it was 2-0. Phoenix is running away with this one, and then the Mavericks go home. They get a little home cooking. The shooters, they got that shooter's eye that looks familiar to them, and all of a sudden the shots are falling like crazy. They bring that one back to 2-2, and then as soon as it goes back to the home arenas for Miami and Phoenix, it's blowouts the other way. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. We ended up not recording yesterday, recording a little bit later here on Wednesday, and it just completely changed how we were going to talk about these series because everything I would have said last night, looking forward to previewing the games is completely thrown out of the window because everything we saw from Dallas's contributing players coming off the bench and just absolutely murdering that Phoenix defense, to Joel Embiid being a completely different factor in for the 76ers, which didn't really surprise anybody, but to the level that it happened, and then everything completely goes the other way. Miami changes their defensive strategies. They completely blitz Joel Embiid, and they change up their matchups on Tyrese Maxey and James Harden. And so Harden goes from having a huge Game 4 to being completely irrelevant, scoring 14 points on 13 shots in Game 5. Yeah. And then if you look over in the Dallas-Phoenix series, Dallas's shooters don't do anything. Dorian Finney-Smith isn't getting the looks he's getting. Maxi Kleber's finally getting picked on defense the way he should have been throughout those games back in Dallas. And I think most importantly, looking at what happened here, you felt this if you were watching the game, but going back and actually seeing these stats, it's kind of insane. Dallas took 71 shots, field goals. Luka and Jalen Brunson took 40 of those 71, and they also combined for 4 assists.
Oh.
I mean, that is a stark look at just how little help that Dallas got away from home, and just right back to games 1 and 2. It's crazy how much different home and away has been in this series when it seems like in sports that hasn't been as big of a deal over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, you can see it in games even when they're winning and playing well. Doncic is just, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? What's he going to do? And he'll move the ball sometimes and, get some contributions. But with him and Brunson, I mean, it's quite a load for them to carry. Everything has to go just right. And much of the time this year it did. They get in the playoffs. They're competitive. But you can see at this high level of competition, it's very tough to win that way.
Now, the one kind of, consistent thread through that Dallas and Phoenix series, though, has been the struggles of Chris Paul. And that did continue last night despite the success of the Phoenix Suns. And this is something that is a legitimate issue with the Phoenix Suns. Because we saw last year when they lost an effective Chris Paul because of injuries, they were a little bit more hollow as a team, and also the lack of a backup 5 was a huge problem. That's another topic we can hit later because of what Bismack Biyombo and JaVale McGee have been doing. But Chris Paul having more struggles, 3 games in a row of just not good basketball. He had 10 assists last night. The passing was there, I should say. He had 10 assists. The turnovers weren't bad. But the scoring, just how he's looking on the court, his ability to get where he wants to, it's hampered a little bit. And I think that's obvious. And so I'm wondering how that's going to look the rest of the playoffs. The biggest problem is, again, they can't lean on Cameron Payne and Landry Shamet consistently enough. Those guys have to step up if they can lean on them for long stretches of time. And the problem is now you're about to go to the Western Conference Finals, you think, and play most likely the Golden State Warriors. And you don't get to take a second off when it comes to guarding that backcourt of Curry, Thompson, and Poole. So that's a problem that Phoenix is going to have to stare down. The good thing is that Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker are at any moment in any game the best player at their respective positions in one way or another, defensively, offensively, what have you, at any particular time. So those guys can take over a game. But there's no doubt that Phoenix has flaws. It's just going to be interesting to see, can they finish it out tonight when or can they finish it out tomorrow when they're back away and Dallas's role players again are feeling a little bit more comfortable, and or does this get extended a little bit more, and do those problems that the Suns have, things like Cameron Johnson being able to get picked up on defense, do those get exacerbated and maybe cause a bigger problem than they look like they're going to right now?
To me, the Chris Paul thing is his performance doesn't bother me if I've got the other guys going. But if Paul's not scoring and Booker's not scoring, forget it. You're in trouble anyway.
Yeah, that hasn't been a problem yet, though.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not as worried about the Chris Paul thing. If he can orchestrate things and get it to his guys where they want it, moreover where they need it, I think his leadership and his willingness to defend anybody at any position, I'm not as concerned about it as you are, but I do see your point.
Game 6 is going to be big because there was a point early last night before, obviously, it completely tipped in the favor of the Suns. There was a couple of points where it felt like the Mavs might really, make it a game in Game 5 and win this one and really turn the series completely on its head. And that's just not something I expected us to feel with the Suns before the Western Conference Finals. So I'm just kind of wondering how good is this team? Good thing for the Suns is that more so those kind of questions, I'm asking more of those about the Warriors and the Grizzlies than I am about the Suns. So still, Suns are still number one. In my mind, they've kind of evened out with the top teams in the East. I was very definitive at the end of the regular season that this was the Suns' championship to lose. But with the way the East teams are playing right now, I think it's evened out. This finals is shaping up to be, one of the best we've had in the last few years.
Assuming health, and I know we'll get to that in some of the games.
Assuming health, and that was another big thing. Kyle Lowry was out for the Heat, and it didn't matter. They still just trounced the 76ers. I mean, that was a shit kicking.
And let's go to the Memphis game with Ja Morant, who it was like what is it in Kill Bill Volume 2? The heart.
Yeah, 5-point palm exploding heart technique.
Yeah, except they're doing it on his knee.
I
can't believe two coaches that I really like and really respect are both trying to win the Whiner of the Year award in this series.
I hate the conversation going on right now in Memphis and Golden State. It's so dumb. It's just like listen, Dylan made some dumb mistakes, but that doesn't now mean we have to elevate everything else because maybe the NBA, should have just ejected him and not suspended him. But now Jordan Poole, when he's reaching for the ball, is pulling some Kill Bill level karate move to explode Ja's knee. Listen,
like Roadhouse, instead of ripping the throat, I ripping the kneecap.
Yeah, and listen, Ja tweeted, what about the code? And then he deleted that tweet because he probably saw it and was like, yeah, I probably tweaked it some other time. Because again, when you explode the way he does and consistently land on one freaking leg like you're Derrick Rose, well, then potentially little Derrick Rose things are going to happen. Start landing on 2 feet. My God, I've been worried about this since the day I first saw him at Murray State, and I was like, stop landing on one leg in these really herky-jerky movements. It's terrifying every time.
Well, right before he got his knee touched, if you go back and look, he made a hard stop, kind of a cut stop with that right leg, and I've had multiple knee injuries and multiple surgeries. I think I saw just a little shift in his knee, and that's all it takes to tear a cartilage. Now, they say it's a deep bone bruise. Okay, if that's your diagnosis or that's what you're telling us, okay. But I thought that hard stop with the right leg was where he was injured.
Yeah, I agree. I really think, had Memphis been able to steal that game, This series, I think, would have been interesting, but I still would have been very adamant that without Ja, this is now Golden State's to lose, just because the firepower they have and the fact that right now Memphis isn't playing at their best because a guy like Dylan Brooks can't hit can't hit a shot right now, and he shot them into some really bad spots. He was taking a lot of shrapnel among Memphis people. I know you talked to Rob Fisher earlier today. I don't know if you guys asked him, but I mean, Dillon Brooks has taken a lot of shrapnel, and for good reason. He put up some dumb shots, but
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting example of two of the biggest misconceptions in the NBA by casual fans, which is one, that coaching doesn't matter, and two, that defense doesn't matter. Dillon Brooks played 39 minutes and kept getting chances to put up bad shots because he's the guy tasked with running with Curry through 9 screens a possession. Because offense gets you, I said it before, I believe it every time I say it, offense gets you on the court, defense keeps you on the court. Another Memphis guy, Chris Vernon, I was listening to him earlier today. He said it the best. He goes, rookies don't get pulled when they put up a dumb 26-footer. Rookies get pulled when they blow a backdoor cut because they were flat-footed and ball watching. That's when rookies get benched.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a great example of defense being so freaking important still, as well as coaching still being a huge factor in a game in a way I don't people think. And that's what I thought we saw, going back to that Miami series. Spoelstra made a change in a defensive situation between 2 games, and it was a 40-point flip because of it, or partially because of it, I should say. Those things are still so paramount in a way that I think sometimes we lose, kind of the forest through the trees when we're just watching, final scores and, star stat lines.
So the Grizzlies, as it applies tonight against the Warriors, Rocc, as you mentioned, back at home in Memphis, they got to get Desmond Bane's back loose because he's got to score big. Triple J's got to play well. And the reemergence of my guy Adams in the middle, and our friend Rob Fisher of the Memphis Grizzlies agreed with us today. He thinks he's got to play even more minutes. I think at least half the game. At least 24 minutes, maybe a couple minutes more.
That's been a realization that I'm kind of kicking myself for not realizing earlier, which is, the lineup of death, so as it used to be called with the Warriors when they won that first championship, was unlocked when they moved Draymond to the 5. But the difference is that Draymond might not have been the defensive maestro that this one is, but he was a better offensive player in a lot of ways. He was a much better shooter, a much more willing shooter. Yeah. And the reason the lineup of death would work is he would pull bigs out from the paint, and they would murder them behind them and in switches and things like that when the NBA was not as akin to playing that kind of defense. Well, when you take away the fact that Draymond doesn't shoot the ball anymore, especially from deep, well, now all of a sudden, Steven Adams can just sag off him by 10 feet and still be the rim-protecting nuisance that you need and can be a problem for the Golden State offense. So, yeah, I absolutely agree with that one. It's kind of crazy that Draymond becoming this only a passer at one point opened up Golden State's offense when they had KD and when Clay was still what Clay was used to be. But now he just never shoots the ball. I'm not saying they need him to. He just never does it. And so teams are conditioned. Steven Adams absolutely can play a couple more minutes. He can muck this game up a little bit. And I think right now without Ja, that's the way you're going to win. That's how they almost won Game 4 is they mucked it up. And I think Steven Adams getting more minutes is a big reason. I think Xavier Williams getting more minutes is another big reason. But Dillon Brooks, flat out, there's got to be a come to Jesus moment, whether that's, maybe a come to Taylor Jenkins moment where it's like, buddy, listen, you're going to be out there for 40 minutes because you got to chase Curry, but I'm going to need you to be a little bit more deferential at times because right now it's not falling for you.
It's not. And again, I go back to another guy I really love, Desmond Bane, and he's just got to find his shot. Not only does he got to hit at a percentage, he's got to hit volume.
And listen, I think find is an operative word. Because you do not have Ja drawing that attention, bending that defense the way he always does. So now Desmond Bane's got to do what he really didn't even do in college. And that's one of the reasons that he slipped down to where he was, is that he's never been a shot creator. He never profiled to be a guy who could consistently get his own shot. And so now you got to do it when you have a fairly good defense being able to hone in on you.
Yep, agreed. So then the other game tonight, man, this is – the matchups in this thing are wild. It's so entertaining. They're 2 games apiece. Now they go back to Boston, the Bucks and the Celtics, and this is I just got to defer to you here. It's just making my head spin.
Al Horford played 131 games in the playoffs and had never scored 30 points. And 2 years removed from being almost unplayable with the 76ers and a year removed from not playing with the Thunder after he got moved. I mean, the fact that he goes for 30 points like that is unbelievable. But I guess in a way, because of the willingness and I guess at this point some might say stubbornness of the Bucks to keep going with Brook Lopez, getting a guy like Horford who, unlike Draymond, will shoot that three-pointer if you leave him with 7 feet of space out on the perimeter, which Robin Lopez is better to do because they play that drop and he's just better not in those tight areas, in those open areas of space, I should say. He'll take that shot. He'll put it on the floor and make a pass on the move. And I just don't think that Milwaukee was really prepared for that. I think that's an incredibly good coaching move by Ime Udoka, and a good move by Brad Stevens to get him there in the first place, to get a veteran big in there who had a different profile than Daniel Tice or Time Lord Robert Williams III. So that was a fascinating development that I just didn't see coming. But I think Budenholzer's a good enough coach. They'll have that part figured out. This now becomes a 3-game series between Jason Tatum and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yep. Agreed.
That's what I mean, because Tatum hasn't been able to take over the game in a two-way capacity in one game the way he was against Brooklyn. And so now the question is, can he do it against Giannis? And then that's the final thing. There's no Chris Middleton, so things like Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart is always going to be extra. But Giannis at this point is a world destroyer. I mean, so it doesn't matter the extra things you have. Tatum has to step up and have 3 big games, or have 2 of 3 big games, I guess is how the math would tell you. He has to have 2 of 3 big games for the Celtics to move on. And if he does that, he will rise to a point where, again, Jason Tatum will become, my favorite to win Finals MVP as he leads the Celtics to a championship. But the question is, can he take that leap over the next, 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, and, it's not a must game because the series wouldn't be over. But you'd hate to be the Celtics if you don't win at home tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. Listen, if they don't win at home tonight, it's going to be tough. Just game 6, Giannis and them feeling it back in Milwaukee. Guys like Pat Connaughton and Drew Holiday, again, we see it right now. Home teams are just shooting the ball better. You get kind of that factor going in your favor. And now all of a sudden, with some of the injuries and that Boston's have, all of a sudden maybe the depth maybe plays in your favor if you're Milwaukee. Again, not having Chris Middleton is a huge factor. That was the difference maker in them going from losing to the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals a couple of years ago to going to the finals and winning the finals. It was Chris Middleton going from being a very good, solid, consistent all-star player to being a borderline, all NBA player as the second, fiddle to a championship winner. And now they don't have that guy. But Giannis has taken another jump over the last couple weeks in a way that shouldn't surprise any of us. We talked about it all regular season. They were kind of a dormant monster that we weren't seeing them at 100%. And Giannis immediately came out and showed what he looks like now at 100%. But the Bucks aren't there. The Bucks aren't at 100% because of Middleton. So can they last long enough to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, get Middleton back, and then take what I think will be a very natural road to a title defense? We'll see. All I know is step 1's tonight.
Well, and one final thing, I've been proven kind of wrong about my Brook Lopez prediction of a few games ago. If he has a big game, they win. Not so much, but he can be a factor in a game like this. If he can get loose and they can find him, he can do enough damage to be a difference maker. Like I said, it wasn't as profound as I initially thought 3 or 4 games ago, but I don't discount the way the Bucks can come at you with size and just sort of bully you on both ends of the court.
Yeah, listen, you might have been wrong about Brook Lopez, but that does not matter because there's nothing that stands as wrong as I have been, and I hate to say this. I guess Jason Kidd's a good basketball coach, and God, that hurts to say, but apparently Jason Kidd's a good basketball coach, because either that or Luka's that good, and Dorian Finney-Smith loves shooting the ball in Dallas that much more than Phoenix. Or Jason Kidd is a great basketball, or is an above-average basketball coach, and that's a sentence I didn't think I'd actually say.
I would say, to have fun with it, I would just say, how hard do you have to coach Luka? Go play.
Yeah, because literally 2 days later, he has two players take 40 of the 71 shots, and they combine for 4 assists. It's like, Jason, you're literally famous for not having a jump shot and being a great passer. Let's work on this, my friend.
Give the ball to Luka. That's his coaching philosophy.
That too. I don't know. They figured out a way to force one of the best offenses in the league in the Suns to consistently cycle the ball to JaVale McGee in Game 4 over and over again. And then the Suns in Game 5, the Suns were like, "Wait, what are we doing?" JaVale McGee plays 3 minutes, takes 1 shot, and they win the game by 30. It's like, oh wow, what a novel concept, or by 20, whatever it was. There are so many crazy flips in these series over the last few days. I think we have another one in them. I think Luka has another 40-point game in him that kind of changes things in that series. Again, not the end, but I think it makes Phoenix people nervous. I think that Embiid probably has one more big game. Harden probably doesn't completely crap out the next couple games. There's 1 or 2 more shifts in these series, probably the ones that are actually still a series. I think we're talking about, two of the 4 conference opponents being set after tonight, but I still think in that Philadelphia-Miami series and the Phoenix-Dallas series, at least, there's one more big lurch that we're not seeing coming. And there's probably one more big lurch in Boston-Milwaukee. I mean, what we're talking about right now, I guarantee one of the things we say is going to look astronomically ridiculous. And that's a guarantee on the 2-man game.
That might be more of a statement about us than the playoffs, though.
Semicolon on my life.
So we'll get together on Friday, and we'll see who remains standing in the NBA playoffs.
Absolutely.
Rocc, thanks for the visit. We'll see you Friday.
Thank you so much, Rammer.
That's Matt Rocchio. I'm Bob Ramsey on the 2-man game right here on Claibs Online.
At St. Louis Acura, we have over 330 pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models. And all of them are covered by our St. Louis Acura Promise and backed by our Better Business Bureau A+ rating and 30 years in business. We also service all makes and models of vehicles, including glass and bumper repair, paint touch-ups, and full mechanical services from one of our 24 technicians. St. Louis Acura, better than ever for you, no matter what vehicle drives you.